Welcome to the Week 12 edition of the Davidson Football Coaches Corner. I'm Jake Eisenberg, joined as always by the head coach Scott Abell, and as always we're powered by Wade Associates. Coach coming off a big win over Stetson, 42-14 win. We'll get to that in a second. First, before that game, you guys go down to Florida, you practice on the beach, you take the walkthrough on the waves. What was that experience like?
It wasn't anything that we had planned. As the day went on, some of the facilities that we had kind of scheduled to walk through on, the rain had caused the facilities to cancel on us because they were natural grass. And so as you arrive at a hotel, you're always looking for areas to walk through. And the Daytona beach out there, it's a hard beach. It's wide. What better place could you do it? So we decided to take the guys out there. It was kind of one of those last-minute decisions, and I think those are the experiences that the guys remember, right? When they're my age, right, and they get together for a reunion, they'll talk about the walkthrough on the beach, right? They'll remember beating Stetson, but the biggest part of that trip they may talk about is the walkthrough on the beach. And so I'm so glad we thought of it, and I'm glad it turned out the way it did.
But it was a little chilly, though. I saw you guys were out there in sweatshirts and hoodies. And anyone get in the water?
No, absolutely not. No,
Too cold for that.
No, and I think there were red flag warnings, so it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't an option. The Atlantic Ocean was, as I said, it was angry, right? The waves were big, so we stayed out of the water. But it was chilly. It wasn't your typical Florida weather, right? Neither was game day. It was upper 50s and a little breeze, and we're certainly accustomed to that here, so we didn't mind it at all.
On the beach against Stenton, you get the win, 42-14. 8th win of the season, 5th in PFL this year, most since 2006. We've talked about kind of how this program has grown, but you keep reaching these different milestones. How do you think kind of the picture of this program has elevated the level of play for your players kind of throughout the roster?
Well, I think it's about confidence, right? With each win and each time you kind of reach a new mark, right, it just builds confidence. And that's so much of what is happening right now. Our guys are playing with a lot of confidence, and they're executing at a high level. And when that happens, good things happen, and you have a shot. And, and I think the thing we've really done well this back half of the season is we've really focused 1 week at a time, kind of let the talk, the noise of, if you do this, that this is going to happen. The next win, it means this. And we don't really talk about that inside our locker room or team meetings anymore. It's more about, hey, how can we go 1-0 this week, right? How can we be at our best? The scoreboard takes care of itself at the end.
A lopsided result on the scoreboard, but this game was a lot closer, tied at 14 at half. You come out of the locker room with 28 unanswered points. You said that you came out of the locker room a little bit looser. How did you get that emotional reaction out of your guys?
Well, I actually think, when I said that in the postgame, I was really kind of more talking about myself. I was probably a little conservative there in the first half with some play calling, and the game plan was really to go right at them, to establish our will and our physicality, and we thought we could, and we did. We did a really good job with that. But with that, it probably, it may have held us back a little bit in the first half, right? And so, the second half, I was more committed to loosening things up, and it really paid off for us. And our guys made great plays when they had the opportunity. And the way I look at this game, when we came out second half, we raised our level up, right? I thought we were the better team coming in, and that showed in the second half clearly. And how much we've grown, right? You go back to San Diego, where we thought San Diego kind of turned the tables on us in the second half, right? They raised their level up, and we talked about it. We weren't sure we matched that. And Saturday, we took that. And that's great for a head coach to see the team grow in that way.
Right, what a difference to see kind of that game against San Diego going one direction, this one a couple of weeks later going another direction. So you got 28 unanswered points from the offense, and we'll talk about the offense as we always do. But today we're going to start with the defense, because this is a group that has been playing incredibly well. They hold Stetson scoreless. Coach Jeff McDaniels pointed out that something like 5 straight weeks with under 160 passing yards allowed. What has this group, specifically the secondary, been doing so well?
Well, everybody's just doing their part, right? It's not complicated. But in our defense, 11 guys have to fit, right? It starts up front. We got to get a pass rush. We got to get to the quarterback, and we didn't come away with a lot of sacks, but he was hurried a lot, right? And then our second level has to drop. They have to get underneath routes. They have to collision routes, and then our back half, they have to do their part. They have to lock in on coverages, right? They have to be focused, and we've certainly been playing great team defense, and it was evident Saturday. Watch us run around, right? Watch us celebrate after big plays, and that's what you want your defense culture to be about. And Coach Berlin and company have done an amazing job, right? If there's a staff across this country that's done a good job defensively as our staff, I'd like to hear about it, because where we've gone from year 1 to year 2 is really amazing.
And then you get the special teams score too. Harrison Hill with the punt block, Hunter Murphy brings it all the way back. So really, all three phases of the game are firing on all cylinders.
Really, it really did. And I'm going to kind of give our defense a shout out for that as well, because we were actually in a punt safe mode, meaning our defense was on the field, right? Looking for maybe a fake, right? And so those are our defense guys making plays, and really excited for them. And when you can score in that way, that raises the bar for your team.
Now, other side of the ball, offensively, you like you said, flip a switch in the second half, and there's one drive in particular in the third quarter that I kind of want to key in on. You start at the 1 yard line. You go 99 yards, 14 plays. You chew up over 8 minutes off the clock. How do you think that drive in particular changed the complexion of the game?
Well, when you look back at it, it's really the things you talk about as a head coach, like establishing your will, right? That drive is a will drive, right? That is incredibly tough. And we've done that. I'm losing count now how many times we've gone 90-plus this year. But I think on the season, it's got to be close to 15 times we've had drives of over 90 yards. And that's incredible. You can go whole seasons and not have that. And so really proud of that. And I think that really, that set the tone for the remainder of the game, right? Defense gets a stop. They pin us down on the half-yard line, and we go 99. We start off with a big pass play. I'll give a shout-out to our offensive staff. That really wasn't my call, they got in my ear a little bit and said, hey, this would be wide open. And, sometimes you're thankful for the media timeouts. They give you a little more time to think about how to attack. And so we did, and it was open. And then, about 4 plays later, they had hurting us some with some corner stunts coming off the edge, right, in the first half. And we knew that. We had prepared for it all week. And I don't think we really reacted well in the first half to those. Well, the first time we did it in the second half, we were prepared. And Tyler flips it out there to Connor Ritchie, who heads down the sideline, right? What a big play. Taking advantage of what the defense does. And so a huge job for us, really important job for the day. And we cap it off with a big touchdown.
Through the air, perfect. 4 for 4 for Tyler, 1 for 1 for Lewis. You can't really get much better than that.
No, and 5 different guys, right? So 5 different guys had touches to combine for 200+ yards of passing on 5 attempts. I would call that really incredibly efficient. And that's really what we want to be, right? We want to be this dominating option run attack out of the gun and be big plays in our passing game and be prepared to take advantage of it. And, Tyler was our offensive player of the game in our program, and I just thought he had a tremendous day. He's healthy. We talked about it last week a little bit. You can see it these last 3 weeks, how he's played. He played for weeks just kind of banged and bruised, and he feels better. His body feels better, and that makes everybody around him better.
On the running side of the ball, we talk about Wesley Duggar a lot, and more milestones for him this week. He breaks the PFL record for touchdowns. He breaks the Davidson single-season record for touchdowns. When all is said and done, and he's looking back on his Davidson career, how do you think he's going to be remembered here?
Well, I mean, certainly he's already put his name in the record book as the best to play here at that position, right? And with what we're doing as a program, I mean, he will put his name before he leaves here as maybe the top Davidson football player of all time, and for what he's able to accomplish in this new era of football. And so we're really proud of him and proud of the teammates around him. We talk about our backfield and you can't talk about our backfield without talking about Story, right? And we're using Jarrell in so many different ways now, right? He lines up in that O-back to give Wesley breaks, and I mean he busted our first big run of the day, right? Wesley has 4 or 5 touches and some good runs, and we got to give him a blow, and Story goes in there fresh legs and busts one, right? And that's what he does. And then we put him out at one of our slots in some blocking roles. I mean, he's 240 pounds, right? And so what a tremendous job he does there for us. And then we hand the ball in jet sweep, and we're just using him a lot of ways now, and it's been exciting for our guys, and he's been a big part of this as well.
Yeah, Jarrell was the leading rusher, 91 yards, 6.5 a carry, which is that's what you want to see.
Yeah, and carrying 6 guys at times, right? 6.5 yards
exactly.
and carrying 6 guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's turn the page. This week you've got a Drake Bulldogs football team coming in that has an identical PFL record at 5-2. This is an interesting matchup for you in particular because you haven't seen Drake yet in your tenure here at Davidson. What do you make of the Bulldogs?
Well, I think they're a really good program. I mean, year in and year out, when you talk about the PFL, certainly it starts with San Diego. Then I think people quickly talk about Dayton and Drake, right, of being the top tier teams. And so we're excited for this opportunity, right, that to have the opportunity to etch our name as hopefully when people talk about the PFL in the future as we move forward, our name will be mentioned. And to do that, you got to win these games. Right? You got to be prepared to be at your best. And they're a great opponent. They're really been tremendous on defense these past couple of years. Their offense has gotten better as this year's gone on and become more explosive. So we have our hands full. They're a good football program. They're well coached, and they're big. They're what we call the anti-Wildcats, right? So we're not the biggest guys on the field. We run really well, right? That's not a secret. They're really big up front on both sides, and that, as always, will be the key. Can we establish the line of scrimmage?
Didn't play Drake last year, so this is the first time that Drake is going to see this kind of new look Davidson team up close and personal. How much do you think it helps that they haven't experienced going up against this option offense of yours?
Well, I mean, I think it could help, right? We really won't know until we get there, right? But they've had 2 years of film, right? We all get film, right? So they've had 2 years of film to watch. I'm sure they spent some time in the spring after the season we had last year, just working on us some, and they played Jacksonville. So option football is not foreign to them, and so but you never really know, right? How it will be played out and how it will affect each group that we haven't played each other under this new era. So excited for this chance, excited for this opportunity, really looking forward to Saturday.
And this Saturday, also last game at Richardson Stadium this season. It'll be the last game for this group of seniors. What have they meant to the program? This is not necessarily a group that you have seen grow throughout all 4 of their years, but tremendously over the last 2. What have they meant to the last couple of years of Davidson football?
Well, I mean, listen, they've we talk about Wes and him etching his name, right? This group will etch their name in to one of the top groups to come through here, and how they've played these last 2 years and how the program has changed under their leadership, right? We thought last year seniors did a tremendous job, right, of setting the foundation, and this group has run with it, right? That started in the off season, and we got some tremendous players in this class, and this will be a class we'll miss immensely. They've bought in from day one, right? They've built great relationships in our program and on our campus. So they'll not just be missed inside our locker room. They'll be missed in the classroom, in our community, and I'm excited to celebrate with them Saturday.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Jake.
That'll do it for the Davidson Football Coaches Corner for Week 12. Kickoff at 1 o'clock on Saturday at Richardson Stadium for the final home game of the season. Comes against the Drake Bulldogs. You can follow along on the Davidson Football Radio Network or by watching live on DavidsonWildcats.com. As always, updates on Twitter @DavidsonFB. For the head coach, Scott Abell, I'm Jake Eisenberg. This has been the Davidson Football Coaches Corner. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.